Now I know what you're thinking. This is going to be another one of those manifestation videos promising miracles, right? And honestly, I would have thought the same thing. I was the biggest skeptic when it came to this stuff. Numbers in your wallet, sacred codes, the law of attraction? Please. I needed real money, not spiritual fairy tales. But something happened that I still can't fully explain. And it started with 3 numbers that someone whispered to me during the lowest point of my financial life. Have you ever been so desperate for money that you try absolutely anything, even something that sounds completely insane? I'm talking about that moment when you're staring at your bank account, feeling your stomach drop, knowing that rent is due, and you have no idea how you're going to make it happen. That was me just a few months ago. I had exactly $327 in my account, 3 bills overdue, and this crushing weight on my chest that kept me awake every single night. But before we begin, please hit the like button and let me know where in the world you're watching from today. It's always fascinating seeing who's joining us from around the world. And if you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any of our future videos. So here's what happened. I was at a coffee shop counting out my last few dollars to pay for a cup of coffee when an elderly woman behind me noticed my hands shaking. I must have looked absolutely devastated because she leaned in and said something I'll never forget. There are 3 numbers that can change everything for you. I almost laughed. Has this ever happened to you? Someone approaches you with what sounds like complete nonsense right when you're at your breaking point. I wanted to walk away, but something in her eyes made me stop. She wasn't trying to sell me anything. She wasn't asking for money. She just looked at me with this knowing expression, like she'd been exactly where I was standing. Florence Scovel Shinn, the pioneer of prosperity consciousness, once wrote that our biggest breakthroughs often come disguised as the most ridiculous suggestions. She talked about how we resist the very things that could transform our lives because they don't match what our logical minds expect. And that's exactly what was happening to me. My rational brain was screaming that this was foolish. But there was this tiny whisper inside saying, "What if?" The woman didn't explain much. She simply told me to write down 3 specific numbers, carry them in my wallet for 7 days and watch what happens. No elaborate ritual, no expensive crystals, no complicated formulas, just 3 numbers. I stood there thinking about my empty apartment, my disconnection notices, my shattered pride. What did I have to lose? Stay with me until the end because what happened next completely changed not just my bank account, but my entire understanding of how money actually flows into our lives. What you're about to discover might surprise you, challenge everything you think you know about financial abundance, and quite possibly change your relationship with money forever. Those 3 numbers that seem so absurd. Within 6 days, something happened that I still get chills thinking about. Let me back up for a second because the journey between that coffee shop conversation and what came next is where the real transformation began. I went home that afternoon, found a small piece of paper, and just stared at it for probably 20 minutes. The rational part of my brain kept saying this was ridiculous, that I was wasting time I should be spending sending out more resumes. But here's what I've learned about desperation. It has this strange way of cracking open your mind to possibilities you would normally dismiss without a second thought. So I wrote down those 3 numbers. I'm not going to reveal them just yet, because there's a specific process to this. A hidden truth about why they work that you need to understand first. Otherwise, you're just scribbling digits on paper hoping for magic, and that kind of energy actually blocks the entire thing from working. I folded that paper, tucked it into my wallet right next to the few bills I had left. And I'm not going to lie, I felt foolish. Has this ever happened to you? That moment where you're doing something that goes against everything you've been taught, but some quiet voice inside is saying, just trust this. The next 6 days were honestly the longest of my life. I kept checking my wallet like the paper was going to disappear or transform. I went about my daily routine, sending out job applications, trying to stretch every dollar. Nothing seemed different on the surface. My circumstances hadn't changed. My bank account was still painfully empty. But there was this subtle shift happening inside me. This strange sense of calm I couldn't quite explain. Florence Scovel Shinn called this acting as if. And it's one of those concepts that sounds simple but requires a complete mindset revolution. You're essentially declaring to the universe that you already have what you need, even when physical reality is screaming the opposite. Then on day 6 I checked my mailbox and there it was, an envelope. I wasn't expecting anything. Inside was a check for $2,000 from a client I had worked with 8 months earlier. 8 months! I had completely forgotten about this outstanding payment. I had written it off as a loss, figured they had ghosted me like so many others do in the freelance world. But here it was, appearing at the exact moment I needed it most. The timing wasn't just coincidental. It was divine. This is what Shin described as the law of supply. This principle that what's rightfully ours will find its way back to us through channels we can't always see or predict. The money had been mine all along. It just needed the right energetic pathway to reach me. Now, I want to go even deeper into what happened next because that check was just the beginning. The impact of those 3 numbers went far beyond a single payment. Within 48 hours of receiving that money, something else occurred that made me realize I wasn't dealing with luck or chance. Write in the comments, I'm ready for this if you're still with me. Because what I'm about to share next connects everything together in a way that will completely shift how you see abundance. 2 days after that check arrived, I got a phone call that made absolutely no sense. It was from a local community center telling me I'd won $500 in a raffle. I stood there completely confused because I had no memory of entering any raffle. None whatsoever. They insisted my name was on the ticket, gave me the date I supposedly entered, and sure enough, when I dug through some old receipts, there it was. A ticket I must have bought months ago and completely forgotten about. $500. Just like that. Now once is interesting. Twice starts to feel like something else entirely. This wasn't just luck anymore. This was a pattern emerging. A revelation about how the universe operates when you align yourself with a different frequency. If this video resonated with you, I'd love for you to subscribe to the channel. This is where we explore practical spirituality and manifestation techniques that actually create real transformation in your life. Here's where it gets even more fascinating. I couldn't keep this to myself. The transformation happening in my life felt too significant not to share. So, I told my sister everything over dinner one night. I showed her the paper in my wallet, explained the 3 numbers, and walked her through exactly what the elderly woman had told me. My sister is even more skeptical than I am. She's an accountant. Everything needs to make logical sense for her. But she looked at my face, saw something had genuinely shifted in me, and decided to try it herself. She wrote down the same 3 numbers, tucked them in her wallet, and honestly, I think she did it more to humor me than anything else. 6 days later, she called me crying. Not sad crying, shocked, overwhelmed, completely blown away crying. Her boss had pulled her into his office that morning and offered her a promotion she hadn't even known was available. No interview, no competition with other candidates. He just said they'd been watching her work and wanted to move her up immediately with a significant salary increase. She kept saying, I don't understand how this happened. I wasn't even trying for this. I didn't apply for anything. And that's exactly the point. That's the hidden mechanism behind how abundance actually flows. Florence Scovel Shinn understood this deeply. She talked about speaking the word, about how when we shift our internal frequency and share that shift with others, we create ripples that multiply the effect. My sister didn't just benefit from the technique. She became living proof that this wasn't about my personal luck. We think abundance is something we have to chase, force, or strategize our way into. We believe we need the perfect plan, the right connections, the ideal timing. But what if the real work is something completely different? What if it's about removing the blocks we've unconsciously built, the resistance we carry without even realizing it? Every decision we make from a place of lack reinforces lack. Every thought that says there's not enough creates more scarcity. The impact of these 3 numbers isn't about the digits themselves. It's about what they trigger in your consciousness, the pathway they open in your mind to receive what's already trying to reach you. Now, here's what I need you to understand about why this works for some people and not others, because there's a crucial element that determines everything. Drop abundance flows in the comments if you're tracking with me so far, because what comes next explains the exact science behind the spiritual. The thing that really sealed it for me, the moment where I couldn't deny something profound was happening, came through my best friend, Marcus. He's the type of person who analyzes everything to death, needs evidence and data. When I told him about my experience in my sister's promotion, he gave me that look, the one like he was trying to figure out if I joined some weird cult. But Marcus has always been curious beneath that analytical exterior. So he agreed to try it. I walked him through the process, made sure he understood not just the mechanics, but the mindset behind it. And he tucked those 3 numbers into his wallet with this expression that said he was doing this purely as an experiment. What happened next still gives me goosebumps. Marcus called me 9 days later, his voice shaking with disbelief. He'd been cleaning out his closet, going through old boxes of papers and documents he'd been meaning to organize for years, and he found something he'd completely forgotten existed. A savings bond his grandmother had given him when he graduated high school. It was worth $1,200. It had been sitting there for over a decade, matured and ready to be cashed, and he had no memory of it whatsoever. Here's what struck me about his story. He wasn't looking for money when he found it. He was simply cleaning, organizing his space. And this hidden resource revealed itself at the exact moment his consciousness had shifted to receive it. Florence Scovel Shinn wrote about this phenomenon. There are no lost opportunities, no forgotten blessings that stay hidden forever. When we align ourselves with prosperity consciousness, these hidden resources find their way into our awareness through what seems like random circumstances, but is actually divine orchestration. So now I had to face the question that was probably screaming in your mind right now. Is this all just coincidence? 3 people, 3 different outcomes, all within a couple of weeks of each other. Is that luck? Or is there something real happening here? This is exactly the kind of investigative approach that Shinn encouraged. She never wanted people to blindly accept spiritual principles. She urged her readers and students to test these laws, to become their own scientists, to observe the results and draw conclusions based on lived experience rather than theory. And that's what I'm inviting you to do as well. Don't take my word for it. Question it, challenge it, but also be willing to test it yourself with an open mind. The truth behind the scenes is that we live in a vibrational universe where like attracts like. This isn't mystical nonsense. Quantum physics has been pointing to this reality for decades. Your thoughts, emotions, and beliefs emit frequencies that interact with the field of infinite possibilities around you. Those 3 numbers aren't magical in themselves. They're tools that help redirect your mental and emotional frequency away from lack and toward abundance. They serve as a constant reminder, a focal point that keeps pulling your consciousness back to prosperity, even when circumstances look dire. The transformation doesn't happen because the numbers have power. It happens because you've made a decision to shift your internal reality, and the external world has no choice but to reflect that shift back to you. Leave testing this now in the comments if you're ready to move beyond theory and into actual practice, because what I'm about to reveal next is the exact process. The exact process matters more than you might think. And this is where most people unknowingly sabotage themselves before they even begin. There's a specific way to write these numbers, a particular sequence and method that activates the energetic frequency we're trying to tap into. If you miss even one step, you're essentially just doodling random digits on paper and hoping for magic. That's not how this works. Florence Scovel Shinn was incredibly precise about this aspect of spiritual work. She emphasized repeatedly that words and thoughts are a tremendous vibratory force, and the way we engage with them, the intentionality, the focus, the exact formulation determines whether we're opening a door or just knocking on a wall. I've seen people try this technique without following the proper steps, and they come back confused, saying it didn't work for them. But when I ask them to walk me through what they did, I immediately spot where they deviated from the process. Maybe they used the wrong color ink or they skipped the affirmation. These details aren't arbitrary rules. Each element serves a specific purpose in creating the energetic pathway between your intention and physical manifestation. It's like baking. If you leave out an ingredient, the chemistry changes. I don't share anything I haven't personally tested and experienced myself. Everything I'm walking you through in this video comes from my own journey, and the journeys of people close to me who validated these principles through their lived experiences. I needed solutions, not philosophy. I needed actual money, not inspirational talk. And what I discovered through this process changed my entire relationship with abundance. Shinn taught from this same foundation. She didn't theorize. She documented actual results. People don't need more information. They need transformation. So when I reveal these 3 numbers to you, understand that I'm not guessing. I know it can work because I've seen it work repeatedly, consistently across different people. The hidden truth is that the universe responds to clarity, to specificity, to intentional engagement with its laws. When you follow this process exactly, you're not leaving things to chance. You're activating a mechanism that's been available to you all along. Type "show me the way" in the comments if you're ready for the exact breakdown, because we're about to get into the specific numbers and the precise method for using them. Before we get into the actual numbers, I need to address something that's been proven to me over and over again through this journey. Energy only grows when it circulates. This is a fundamental spiritual principle that Florence Scovel Shinn taught extensively. When we hoard knowledge, keep insights to ourselves, or refuse to let abundance flow through us to others, we actually create blockages in our own receiving channels. Think about water in a pond versus water in a river. Stagnant water becomes murky. Flowing water stays clear, vibrant, life-giving. The same applies to everything we receive. Money, knowledge, opportunities, transformation. When we allow it to move through us and outward to others, we create space for more to flow in. This is why I'm sharing this technique with you openly. Your transformation doesn't diminish mine. Your success doesn't reduce the available supply. We're all tapping into an infinite source. Numbers and frequency. Now let me address the elephant in the room. Numbers are just numbers, right? How could they possibly hold power? This is where most people's rational minds create the exact resistance that blocks the process from working. But here's what shifted for me when I started studying not just spiritual traditions, but also quantum physics and ancient numerology. Everything in this universe operates on frequency and vibration. Sound has frequency. Light has frequency. Your thoughts and emotions emit measurable electromagnetic frequencies. And yes, numbers carry specific vibrational signatures that have been recognized across cultures for thousands of years. If something clicked for you today, hit that like button. It helps this content reach more people who are ready for this message. Shinn wrote that fears are but inverted faith, meaning that when we doubt something intensely, we're actually giving it tremendous power, just in the negative direction. Your skepticism isn't neutral. It's actively creating resistance in your energetic field. Every time you think this won't work for me, you're programming your subconscious to reject the very thing you're trying to attract. The hidden mechanism behind manifestation is about removing the blocks you've unconsciously built that prevent you from receiving what's already trying to reach you. When you approach these three numbers with an open mind, not naive belief, but genuine openness to possibility, you create a completely different energetic environment. You're essentially telling the universe, I'm willing to receive. I'm available for abundance. I'm open to being surprised. Put "I'm open to receiving" in the comments if you're willing to set aside skepticism long enough to see what happens. The materials you need for this are almost laughably simple. And that's intentional. All you need is a small piece of white paper, something that can fit comfortably in your wallet, a blue pen. White paper represents purity of intention, a clean slate, a blank canvas for your new financial reality. You're not bringing any old energy into this process. The blue pen is significant because blue operates at a higher vibrational frequency. It's associated with communication, clarity, and divine truth. When you write with blue ink, you're encoding your intention with a frequency that aligns more naturally with spiritual laws. Shinn spoke often about the importance of symbols and their vibrational significance. She understood that physical objects, colors, and materials aren't just inert. They carry energy signatures that either support or hinder our manifestation efforts. The physics of numbers. Here's where things get really fascinating. Everything that exists is essentially frozen vibration. Energy moving at different speeds and patterns. Numbers are no exception to this universal principle. Each number carries its own distinct frequency, its own energetic signature that interacts with the field of infinite possibilities. The number 3 doesn't just represent a quantity. It holds a specific vibration that's been recognized across every major spiritual tradition as sacred, complete, divine. The number 8 isn't just two circles. It represents infinite flow, continuous cycles, abundance without end. When you understand this, you start to see that working with numbers isn't about math or logic. It's about resonance, about tuning your personal frequency to match the frequency of what you want to attract. Shinn taught that consciousness is creative power. When you consciously shift your vibration through tools like these sacred numbers, you begin attracting circumstances that match your new frequency. The transformation happens at the energetic level first. And the physical world has no choice but to reorganize itself to match. Drop frequency shift in the comments if this is clicking for you. Because understanding this principle is what makes the three numbers actually work instead of being just wishful thinking. Think about how different music notes create completely different emotional responses. Numbers work exactly the same way. The number 3 vibrates at a completely different wavelength than the number 8. The number 5 carries an entirely distinct energetic signature from 2 or 7. This isn't metaphor or poetic language. It's recognizing that numbers are frequency patterns that interact with the quantum field in specific, measurable ways. Ancient civilizations understood this instinctively. The Pythagoreans built an entire philosophical system around the mystical properties of numbers. The Hebrews assigned numerical values to letters. Chinese culture has revered and avoided certain numbers for thousands of years based on their energetic qualities. Florence Scovel Shinn drew from these ancient wisdom traditions, recognizing that spirituality isn't about inventing new truths, but remembering eternal ones that have been hidden in plain sight. The journey of spiritual awakening is really about unlearning the limitations we've been taught and reconnecting with knowledge that's been available all along. When you intentionally work with specific number frequencies, you're essentially tuning your personal energy field the way you tune a radio to a particular station. Right now, most people are unconsciously tuned to the frequency of struggle, limitation, and scarcity because that's what they were taught to expect. Their internal dial is set to a station broadcasting messages of not enough or too hard. But here's the revelation that changes everything. You can change the channel. You can deliberately tune yourself to the frequency of abundance, unexpected money, and financial flow. That's exactly what these three sacred numbers help you do. Shinn called this process, getting on the right track with universal supply. She understood that the universe isn't withholding abundance from anyone. The supply is infinite, constantly flowing, available to everyone. The only question is whether you're tuned to the right frequency to receive it. Most people spend their entire lives standing outside in the rain, complaining about being thirsty, never realizing they just need to open their mouths. The money is there, but if your energetic frequency doesn't match what you're trying to attract, you'll keep missing the signals and overlooking the open doors. This is why simply wanting money doesn't work. Desperation actually repels abundance because desperation vibrates at the frequency of lack. When you're desperate, you're broadcasting, "I don't have enough." And the universe responds by giving you more circumstances that match that vibration. The transformation happens when you shift from wanting to receiving, from chasing to allowing, from forcing to flowing. These three numbers act as tuning forks that help recalibrate your frequency to match the abundance that's already trying to reach you. Write "I'm tuning in" the comments if you're ready to learn what these three specific numbers are, and why each one was chosen for its unique vibrational property. The first number is 8, but not just once. You're going to write it 3 times. 888. Now, before you dismiss this as random, let me show you why this specific number holds such profound significance. Look at the shape of the number 8. Turn it sideways and what do you see? The infinity symbol. That's not coincidence. It's visual representation of the exact frequency this number carries. Infinite flow, infinite possibilities, infinite abundance. When you write 888, you're essentially encoding the energy of limitless supply into your consciousness in your physical wallet. Florence Scovel Shinn had a declaration she used repeatedly. "My supply is endless, inexhaustible, and immediate." Endless means there's no cap. Inexhaustible means you can't deplete it. Immediate means it's available right now. That's the frequency of 888. When you write those 3 on your paper, you're activating this exact vibration in your energetic field. You're making a declaration to the universe that you're operating from abundance consciousness, not scarcity consciousness. Holistic abundance. But here's where most people miss the deeper truth. Abundance isn't just about money. Yes, we're focused on attracting financial flow right now, but true abundance, the kind that creates lasting change, encompasses every area of your existence. It's having plenty of health. It's having meaningful relationships. It's feeling a sense of joy and purpose. This holistic understanding of abundance is what separated Shinn's teachings from superficial get-rich-quick schemes. She recognized that prosperity is a state of being, not just a bank account balance. People who attract money from a place of holistic abundance tend to keep it and grow it. People who attract money from desperate lack consciousness tend to lose it just as quickly as it arrived. The number 888 encoded on your paper serves as a constant reminder of this complete, total, infinite abundance. Every time you open your wallet, you're reinforcing this frequency. It's consistent energetic reinforcement that gradually overrides years of scarcity programming. Leave 888 abundance in the comments if you're feeling the power of this first number, because the second number we're adding carries an entirely different but equally important frequency. Now, here's the shift in perspective that changes everything. Abundance is not something you go out and get. Abundance is a frequency you learn to embody, a state of being you step into right now. This was Florence Scovel Shinn's most revolutionary insight. We don't attract what we want, we attract what we are. If you are scarcity, if your internal identity is rooted in not enough, then no amount of positive thinking will override that core frequency. The universe doesn't respond to your wishes. It responds to your energetic signature, the vibrational truth of who you're being moment to moment. This is why writing 888 on that piece of paper is so powerful. You're not asking for abundance. You're declaring that you are abundance. You're shifting your identity from someone who needs money to someone who naturally attracts and receives it. The power of triplication. And here's where the triplication becomes absolutely crucial. When you write 3 8s instead of just 1, you're activating something that ancient wisdom traditions understood. The number 3 represents the complete integration of body, mind, and spirit. True transformation only happens when all 3 aspects align toward the same reality. Your body must feel abundant. Your mind must think from abundance. Your spirit must know abundance as its natural state. In ancient sacred texts across multiple cultures, anything spoken or written 3 times was considered absolute, unshakable truth. It was the way prophets sealed declarations. 5 carries an entirely distinct energetic signature from 2 or 7. This isn't metaphor or poetic language. It's recognizing that numbers are frequency patterns that interact with the quantum field in specific, measurable ways. Ancient civilizations understood this instinctively. The Pythagoreans built an entire philosophical system around the mystical properties of numbers. The Hebrews assigned numerical values to letters. Chinese culture has revered and avoided certain numbers for thousands of years based on their energetic qualities. Florence Scovel Shinn drew from these ancient wisdom traditions, recognizing that spirituality isn't about inventing new truths, but remembering eternal ones that have been hidden in plain sight. The journey of spiritual awakening is really about unlearning the limitations we've been taught and reconnecting with knowledge that's been available all along. When you intentionally work with specific number frequencies, you're essentially tuning your personal energy field the way you tune a radio to a particular station. Right now, most people are unconsciously tuned to the frequency of struggle, limitation, and scarcity. Their internal dial is set to a station broadcasting messages of not enough or too hard. But here's the revelation that changes everything. You can change the channel. You can deliberately tune yourself to the frequency of abundance, unexpected money, and financial flow. That's exactly what these 3 sacred numbers help you do. Shinn called this process, getting on the right track with universal supply. She understood that the supply is infinite, constantly flowing, available to everyone. The only question is whether you're tuned to the right frequency to receive it. The resources are there, the money is there, but if your energetic frequency doesn't match what you're trying to attract, you'll keep missing the signals and walking past the open doors. This is why simply wanting money doesn't work. Desperation actually repels abundance because desperation vibrates at the frequency of lack. The transformation happens when you shift from wanting to receiving, from chasing to allowing, from forcing to flowing. These 3 numbers act as tuning forks that help recalibrate your frequency to match the abundance that's already trying to reach you. Write "I'm tuning in the comments if you're ready to learn what these 3 specific numbers are, and why each one was chosen for its unique vibrational property. The first code, 888. The first number is 8, but you're going to write it 3 times. 888. Look at the shape of the number 8. Turn it sideways and you see the infinity symbol. This is the visual representation of the exact frequency this number carries. Infinite flow, infinite possibilities, infinite abundance. When you write 888, you're essentially encoding the energy of limitless supply into your consciousness in your physical wallet. Shinn's powerful affirmation captures this frequency. My supply is endless, inexhaustible, and immediate. When you write 888 on your paper, you're activating this exact vibration, declaring that you're operating from abundance consciousness, not scarcity consciousness. Abundance in triplicate. And here's where the triplication is crucial. The number 3 represents the complete integration of body, mind, and spirit. True transformation only happens when all 3 aspects align toward the same reality. Your body must feel abundant. Your mind must think from abundance. Your spirit must know abundance as its natural state. In ancient sacred texts, anything repeated 3 times was considered absolute, unshakable truth. 888 is abundance multiplied by the power of 3. Type body, mind, spirit in the comments if you're starting to see how deep this actually goes, because the second number we're adding specifically targets unexpected money from sources you can't even imagine right now. The second code, 520. The second number you're going to write below 888 is 520, 520. This is the sacred code for unexpected money. The reason it's so powerful is precisely because it removes all the limitations we unconsciously place on how abundance can reach us. Most people, when they think about receiving money, immediately start outlining the exact pathway it should take. They think it has to come from their job or a specific client. This kind of rigid thinking actually creates walls that block other channels of abundance from opening up. Florence Scovel Shinn warned extensively about this trap. She called it outlining. When we outline, we're essentially telling the universe, I only want it this way through this specific door on this exact timeline. And the universe, being infinitely more creative, has 17 other doors ready to open. But we've locked ourselves into staring at just one. That's what 520 represents. Complete openness. Total surrender to unexpected channels. Willingness to be surprised by how prosperity finds its way to you. Think about my story. The $2,000 forgotten check, Marcus finding his savings bond, the raffle win. These were hidden resources revealing themselves because my frequency had shifted to receptive mode. Money might show up as a tax refund, a loan finally paid back, or an unexpected gift. The behind-the-scenes orchestration happening in the quantum field is far beyond what our conscious minds can track or predict. The universe operates through synchronicity and perfect timing. 520 is crucial alongside 888. While 888 establishes your identity as someone who is abundant, 520 opens all the doors and windows through which that abundance can physically reach you. Drop open to receive in the comments if you're ready to release control over how money reaches you and trust that the universe has channels available you haven't even considered yet. The third code, 777. This brings us to the third and final number you're going to write on your paper. And this one carries a frequency that everyone instinctively recognizes. The number is 777, 777. Think about what immediately comes to mind when you see those 3 sevens: jackpot, winning, lucky break. That association isn't random. It's tapping into an ancient recognition that the number 7 carries the vibration of fortunate timing, divine favor, and serendipitous alignment. When you write 777 on your paper, you're activating this energy of financial luck in your life. Luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity through perfect timing. It's the synchronicity that brings you to the right place at the right time to meet the right person. Florence Scovel Shinn spoke constantly about divine timing, about how the universe orchestrates events with precision that looks miraculous, but is actually a lawful, predictable response to our energetic state. The impact of adding 777 is that you're essentially telling the universe, I'm ready for fortunate circumstances. I'm open to perfect timing. I'm available for serendipitous opportunities. Write divine timing in the comments if you're feeling how these 3 numbers work together. 888. For infinite abundance, identity. 520. For unexpected channels, openness. 777. For fortunate timing, grace/luck. This combination creates a complete energetic system for attracting money. Here's what most people don't want to hear, but desperately need to understand. Hard work alone isn't enough. You can work yourself to exhaustion and still struggle if fortune doesn't smile on you. If the timing isn't right or if opportunities pass you by because you're not vibrating at the right frequency. This is about alignment with what Shinn called divine selection. When you're operating at the right frequency, the universe begins orchestrating circumstances in your favor. The right person thinks of you at the exact moment they need someone with your skills. The transformation from struggle to flow happens when effort meets grace. Now, here's where the process deepens. And this step is absolutely crucial. Take that paper with 888, 520, and 777 written on the front and flip it over. The back of the paper is where you're going to write a powerful affirmation that programs your subconscious mind with the reality you're creating. This isn't optional. This is the decision point where you seal the energetic code with conscious intention. Florence Scovel Shinn taught that the subconscious mind is impersonal and accepting. It doesn't judge whether something is true or false. It simply accepts whatever convictions your conscious mind repeatedly feeds it, and then works tirelessly to manifest circumstances that match those convictions. Your subconscious has been programmed your entire life by limiting beliefs. Money is hard to come by. You have to struggle to survive, etc. These programs quietly sabotage your efforts. But you can reprogram it. You can install new software. That's exactly what this affirmation does. It begins overwriting the old code with a new operating system based on abundance, receptivity, and divine favor. The impact of this seemingly simple step cannot be overstated. You're not just writing words on paper. You're encoding a new identity, a new expectation, and a new energetic signature into the deepest layers of your being. Behind the scenes, your subconscious will begin noticing things it previously filtered out, creating connections it previously missed, and drawing you toward decisions and actions that align with this new programming. The journey from where you are to where you want to be becomes exponentially smoother when your conscious desires and subconscious beliefs are finally working together instead of against each other. Type reprogramming now in the comments if you're ready to write the specific affirmation that's been tested and proven to work with these 3 numbers. The affirmation you're about to write starts with 2 words that carry more power than most people realize. Thank you. That's it. Simple, straightforward, yet absolutely transformative in its impact on your energetic frequency. Gratitude is the highest vibration you can emit. It's higher than hope, higher than desire. When you express genuine gratitude, you're sending a signal to the universe that says, I already have this. It's done. I'm celebrating the manifestation that's on its way. This isn't fake positivity. This is the hidden truth about how manifestation actually works. You have to feel the reality of having received before the physical evidence shows up. Florence Scovel Shinn wrote that gratitude dissolves the energetic blocks that keep abundance at bay. It opens your heart, relaxes your nervous system, and creates a welcoming space for blessings to flow in. This is why we start the affirmation with, thank you. We're not begging or hoping. We're thanking. Expressing appreciation for what divine intelligence is already orchestrating on our behalf. Naming the divine. After thank you, you're going to write whatever name for the divine feels authentic and comfortable to you. Maybe it's God, maybe it's universe, maybe it's divine energy, source, or higher power. There is no wrong choice here. Shinn emphasized personal connection over rigid religious terminology. What matters isn't the label you use. It's the genuine relationship you're acknowledging. The recognition that there's an intelligent force working with you and through you. The divine doesn't care what you call it. It responds to the sincerity of your heart and the authenticity of your intention. Drop thank you universe or thank you God in the comments, whichever phrase you're going to use, because the next part of the affirmation is where we claim the reality we're creating in present tense language. After your chosen name for the divine, you're going to write these exact words. I am now attracting money in avalanches into my life. Pay very close attention to the language here, because every single word is intentional. I am attracting. Notice it doesn't say, I will attract. It says I am attracting, present tense happening right now. Shinn was adamant about this principle. Now is the appointed time. Every time you push your desire into the future, you're programming your subconscious to keep that reality perpetually out of reach. When you claim something as current reality using present tense, you collapse that gap. Avalanches. This word is equally important. We're not claiming a little money here and there. We're claiming avalanches, massive, unstoppable, overwhelming amounts of money flowing into your life from multiple directions simultaneously. You have to give yourself permission to desire and receive abundantly. When you boldly declare avalanches of money, you're expanding your capacity to receive beyond the narrow limits you've been unconsciously operating within. Sealing the intention. Now, here's where you seal this entire intention with absolute finality. After writing that present tense declaration, you're going to finish with either "It is done" or "and so it is" in capital letters. The capitalization emphasizes the certainty, the immovable conviction that this isn't a wish or a hope. It's a completed transaction in the spiritual realm that's now making its way into physical form. This mirrors Shin's declaration. It is finished. You're closing the energetic circuit, declaring to your subconscious and to the universe that there's nothing left to question. Write "IT is done" in the comments if you're claiming this reality right now, because next we're going to talk about amplifying this entire practice. Here's an optional addition that can significantly amplify the power of what you've already created. If you have cinnamon in your kitchen, take a tiny pinch and sprinkle it on both sides of your paper. Cinnamon has been used in prosperity rituals for thousands of years because it carries a uniquely powerful vibration that resonates with wealth, success, and financial flow. Shin acknowledged and respected these folk wisdom traditions, understanding that certain natural elements hold genuine energetic properties. When you add this element, you're layering another dimension of energetic support onto the foundation you've already built. Removing resistance. There's one more optional refinement. Take a look at your paper and notice the corners. They're sharp, pointed, creating angles where energy can potentially get stuck. Some practitioners recommend taking scissors and gently rounding off those corners, creating smooth edges that allow energy to circulate freely without hitting barriers. This reflects the teaching Shin emphasized about removing all resistance from your manifestation process. Sharp corners create turbulence. Smooth curves allow effortless movement. When you round the corners, you're making a conscious decision to eliminate any potential points of resistance. Leave energy flows freely in the comments if you've made these final touches to your abundance paper, because now we need to talk about placement and timing. Now take this paper you've created and place it in your wallet. Tuck it wherever feels right to you. The placement itself is crucial. You're creating what Shin called a focal point, a physical anchor for the energetic transformation. Your wallet is the container for your financial resources, and by placing this code inside it, you're programming that entire space with a new frequency. Keep this paper in your wallet for a minimum of 7 days. 7, not coincidentally, is the number of completion and divine perfection. The principle of watchfulness. During this week, something crucial needs to happen. You need to stay alert. You need to pay attention to things you might normally overlook. Shin emphasized this principle of watchfulness repeatedly. Money might show up in ways you don't expect. Someone might mention an opportunity in casual conversation. You might feel drawn to check an old account. These aren't random impulses. They're your intuition responding to the energetic shifts happening behind the scenes. Your financial frequency is actively shifting during these 7 days. If you're not paying attention, you'll miss the very doors that are opening for you. Type "I'm paying attention" in the comments if you're committing to this week of conscious awareness, because what happens after these 7 days is just as important. Here's something fascinating that happens. Many people who get the best results are the ones who, after creating the paper, essentially forget about it. They don't anxiously wait for money to appear. They don't keep pulling out the paper. The transformation happened while they weren't watching, precisely because they weren't watching. This is the delicate balance Shin described as letting go and letting God. You set the intention clearly, activate the frequency, and then you release it. You trust. The hidden mechanism behind why detachment works is that attachment carries the frequency of lack. When you're desperately attached, you're broadcasting, "I don't have this yet, I need it so badly." That energy repels the very thing you're trying to attract. But when you release attachment while maintaining clear intention, you're broadcasting, "I've claimed this. It's already mine in the spiritual realm. I trust it's making its way to me." That energy magnetizes your desire toward you, because there's no resistance blocking its path. I'm not asking you to believe me. I'm inviting you to test this for yourself. Follow these steps exactly. Create the paper with 888, 520, and 777 on the front. Write the gratitude affirmation on the back in present tense. Place it in your wallet for 7 days minimum. Pay attention to what happens. Then, draw your own conclusions based on your personal experience. Shin would say, try it and see. Personal verification is infinitely more powerful than secondhand belief. The journey from skepticism to certainty happens through direct experience. Drop testing this myself in the comments if you're ready to move beyond theory and into actual practice. What makes this practice so powerful isn't any single element in isolation. It's the synergy created when all these elements work together as a unified system. Numbers, intention, gratitude, and an open heart. This reflects Shin's teaching about aligning thought, word, and action. Furthermore, when you engage with this practice alongside others who are doing the same thing, collective intention multiplies that power exponentially. This is why Shin conducted group demonstrations. When multiple people align their consciousness, they create a field that makes manifestation easier for everyone involved. Write part of the abundance community in the comments if you're ready to be part of this collective shift. The power of public declaration. I want you to take one more powerful step. Declare your intention publicly. Write something simple like abundance is mine or money flows to me easily. Shin taught extensively about the creative power of the spoken word, famously declaring that words are dynamite. When you write your intention publicly, you're taking your internal intention and giving it external form. You're shifting from passive hoping to active claiming. This journey we're on together isn't a one-time event. Real transformation requires ongoing practice and sustained commitment to your new identity as someone who naturally attracts and receives abundance. Shin's core message is that we are powerful creators designed for abundance, not victims of circumstance. Limitation has never been your natural state. It's learned. You can unlearn it. Leave I am a powerful creator in the comments if that truth is resonating in your being right now. If this video resonated with you, I'd love for you to subscribe to the channel. Hitting that like button tells the algorithm that this content matters and allows more seekers to discover these principles. Remember, you are a powerful creator. Abundance is your natural state. Everything is working in your favor.